it's Angie from Sunny Side Up Living Vlog, and today we're going to do a side entry makeover that you can accomplish in just 1 hour. After what seemed like an endless winter, our side door was ready for a quick refresh, so I got to work. I started by grabbing a hoe and tackling some of the deeper weeds, getting all the way down to the root. I grabbed a small pail and a garden trowel and did some hands and knees work, continuing to dig up weeds and then smoothing out the dirt as I worked my way through the section. After a long winter, this took more time than I thought. The hoe made some quick work on the edges of this space. I had to really get into the roots so they wouldn't sprout back up. And then I finished off this section by hand picking out the little pieces of grass and smaller weeds. This smaller section won't have any flowers planted in it, but I still wanted to clear out the weeds for a prettier looking landscape. Next, it's time to plant. It's important, if you're planting flowers, to dig a hole roughly twice the size of your plant. I like to massage the plant in its plastic container to break up the soil a bit before I remove it from the container. Then, when removing the plant, you'll want to grab it near the base of the plant so you don't damage it. Firmly place the plant in the freshly dug hole, just like so, and then fill it with the soil you cleared and pat the area down. One of the things I like to do is figure out what is going where before I plant and get the spacing right. Last year I planted annuals here, but this year I wanted to try some perennials that will come back next year. Bleeding hearts are somewhat delicate, but they have that classic farmhouse vibe that I was after. I'm going to plant this second bleeding heart on the right side of my flower bed, repeating the process of unpotting it gently. If you're new to perennials, one of the things you should try to remember is that they take some time to acclimate to your planting space. I find that the plants I buy at the greenhouse look even better at the end of the season, so be patient. At our previous house, we had a purple clematis, and my daughters got me one for Mother's Day this year. I just love the vibrant color, and this trellis that we kept from that house looks great in this space with a wall of brick behind it. I found this cute, chippy, and old-fashioned looking bicycle planter for my dianthus. This piece gives a little charm and interest to this space, so the planting space doesn't just look like a row of flowers when you're finished with it. Next, I put down a generous layer of cedar mulch. 2 inches is a good rule of thumb to keep the weeds at bay. I like natural and untreated cedar because it smells great, is an insect repellent, and doesn't contain dyes and chemicals. I just placed this in piles within the garden space and then smoothed it out with my hands to even out the surface. Then, in this one little section I weeded, I added some fresh mulch and this welcome garden plaque from Caruth Studios right down the road in Waterville. And I finished off the entry area with the fresh classic welcome mat I found at Michael's. Now let's go inside and work on some door decor. I took a narrow hanging basket I picked up last year at the Country Living Fair in Columbus and added some thick burlap and lace ribbon, tying a nice bow on it and then smoothing out the edges. Next I added some flower stems, starting with tall white flowers and then adding in some yellow and green to fill it out nicely. Here we go, a nice and refreshed side entry that's cheerful, and I'll hang this basket on the door as the finishing touch. That's it for today. If you're interested in seeing more simple DIY projects that you can do to add some charm to your landscape, hit subscribe.